Hey guys, meteorologist Lindsey Slater here. So yes, we did have a pretty active situation here with an an X 4.0 flare that was reported on Friday the 14th. Pretty wild to see that guy right there. This was likely due to 4274, which was the one that had been giving us all of these really cool blasts that came out of the sun. And there it is. You can see this was associated with the CME, and you can see that right here. However, it was not Earth directed. And you can see that right here by looking at some of the solar wind models. And I've shown this extensively. This is called Enlil. And you can see Earth is the little green dot here. So it did hit stereo A, which is the red dot, but it was not something that was Earth directed. As you can see, it maybe gave us like a tiny glancing blow right there. Little tiny glancing blow was possible, but yeah, nothing for Earth, which is why I didn't really talk about it at all, but very cool and very interesting to see. Now, remember, solar flares are basically instantaneous when it comes to impacts at Earth. So solar flares are going to mess with radio signals. You can get a flare that has radiation with it. We call those SEP events, solar energetic particle events. That is when you have radiation and issues for astronauts and polar orbiting flights, aviation wise. But this was our latest. But otherwise, our sun is starting to calm down a little bit. There's this is the old guy right here. This is the one. This was on the 14th, the one that just went bonkers. I'm going to load up 171. You can see it a little clearer. Wow. Just, oh, that is so cool. Honestly, I find space weather almost as fascinating as terrestrial weather. It's just really, really interesting to see the loops there, all the sunspots just kind of, I mean, that's a beautiful flare. This sun it's angry. It's definitely just launching plasma everywhere. But look at all of this. Oh, it's just all of those sunspots are becoming more equatorialward, and that's a good indication of a declining solar phase. And then as we get closer to, like, we see the polarity shift, all the little sunspots kind of migrate to the equator. That's the declining phase, and then they switch polarity and they go back to the poles, and that's kind of how we get our solar cycles. Very cool there. But let's look at the newest. 4274 is now on the back side of the sun. I would say if we're looking at any other regions, maybe right there. This one looks a little bright right here. This is 4284 kind of here. We got some brightness going on. I know we have some coronal holes, which you can't see here. I would estimate there's probably one there. We need to go to 211 for that. And there it is. Little coronal hole. We have a northern coronal hole, a southward coronal hole. It's kind of away from the equator. I would say maybe we get some high speed streams out of this guy right here. That is a possibility, meaning basically a fast solar wind kind of pointed towards the Earth. And what that does is that can give us at times minor aurora chances. I wouldn't put a lot of bets on it though, but you can see that there. And if I just go to SWPC's page, you'll be able to see some of the 24-hour maximums. The solar wind speed is starting to pick up, but nothing really observed here. And they're predicting G1, which is probably due to that, high speed stream. That would be my guess here. So as we look at this, we already saw this. I wanted to show something here. Oh yeah, I wanted to show the latest products. If we just go to some of our solar data. Oh gosh, Lindsey, where is it? Not the magnetometers. I want to look at where's my, not Enlil. Where is my, I'm just looking for, the absorption regions probably were interesting a couple of days ago after we had that X flare, but I want to look for my solar wind, real-time solar wind. Okay, here we go. So this is over the last 6 hours. I'm going to go to the last day, and you can see there were some periods here of South BZ, that might have given some storming maybe this morning, but honestly, BT, which is like the total storming capability, is pretty low at this point. So I don't really think we're seeing much. As far as solar wind, it's not that impressive right now. It's about 500. When you have solar wind arriving, that it's in the like 800 to 1,000. So I would say maybe something happened around here. This might have been, I mean, this was like 9 o'clock last night. There could have been some storming going on, but our density went down a little bit. But otherwise, that is all I'm seeing here space weather wise, guys. I did actually have some questions about something specifically, if these G level storms do impact not just flights but aviation. And now I know that that's true. If we go back to SWPC's page and go back to the G1, which it was showing that right here, you can actually click on it and it'll tell you what G1 means. Migratory animals are affected by this at higher levels. And aurora is common at high latitude. So this is you have a CME, you have you have basically a high speed stream that would likely be impacted by this. So last week we did have that G4 and then I think it was a G3 or G2, which definitely has some impacts as well. All right, you guys have a good rest of your week. I'll keep you posted if anything interesting happens with our sun, as always. But I always like to do one of these on Monday so you guys kind of know what's going on for the week.